My name is Ann Purvis, and I'm one of the leaders of the Toronto Field Naturalist Juniors program. We are running a 10-week nature class, and we are in our 6th week. We meet every Wednesday at 4:30 for an hour program. All of the participants send in slides, photos, drawings, and so on to share their nature adventures of that week. So this is Evelyn's very first nature journal entry, and she drew the sumac here and also the larva and the adult acorn weevil. Thank you so much, Evelyn. This is a drawing by Alexi and also by Sandra, and I really enjoy how Alexi chose the colors of green and brown and yellow for his acorns. It seems to me to capture the colors of the acorns through the summer and fall. And it's also intriguing how he put the acorns inside an acorn. It reminded me very much of how we discovered creatures inside the acorn. We discovered creatures inside a creature. So I challenged the group about which larva was hiding under these acorn caps sent in by Anna and Evelyn. The group correctly identified the acorn weevil larva. It's chubbier and doesn't move nearly as easily as the moth larva. Second challenge, which larva is this? In case people couldn't get it, we included this shot of the inside of the acorn, and there's a huge clue here. There is an opening in the outer fruit wall of the acorn, which could only be there if the weevil larva had left and created an opening for the moth larva to get in. So this is definitely the moth larva. So I got an email this week from a really incredible lady that some of us had the privilege of meeting at Rosetta McLean Gardens. So for the past 2 years, we've kicked off our fall junior naturalist program by visiting Rosetta McLean Gardens, which is a gathering place for monarch butterflies in migration. And because of that, Betty McCullough and her friend Terry have tagged butterflies. Before they tag them, they weigh them and size them to determine their health. And they have had butterflies picked up in Mexico from this location. So we saw them just before they left for Mexico. And Betty sent me pictures from the Journey North site of children waiting at the other end of the monarch migration to receive them in Mexico. So here they are, and this is a chart they were keeping of how many they had seen on any particular day. Some of their comments were so interesting. They were waiting on October 25th. They had recorded nothing. October 26th, the situation changed. Today is the day. Today is the start. There they are. We all watched as the monarchs quietly but determinedly glided into view, appearing in our bright blue sky. This coming of the monarchs is connected in Mexican legends to the Day of the Dead. And so somebody said, they are the leading spirits of our dead, heading forward. Grandmas, grandpas, they know the way by heart. They have the wisdom. They have the knowledge. Just look at them. They registered dozens on the arrival map. This is the earliest that we have seen monarchs arrive. We did not expect their arrival so soon. This arrival date is certainly earlier than previous seasons. On October 27th, the arrival became a massive arrival. During the day it was quiet. Then in the late afternoon, almost at sunset, large, massive numbers were confirmed. So that here's some kids pointing upwards, and up in these trees you can see large numbers of monarch butterflies hanging. If anyone is interested in learning more about this, you will see that there's a link to the Journey North website on this blog post. So this is a beautiful sky picture sent in by Anna and Evelyn. We have all noticed that there are different types of clouds. Some are feathery, others look like cotton wool. I challenged the group if anybody knew what a scientist is called who studies weather, and someone knew, a meteorologist. I think it might have been Abby suggested that, which is actually correct. So meteorologists give names to different types of clouds. The same reason we give names to birds or butterflies or anything, so that we can study them and we can talk to other scientists about them and we can figure out what they're doing. So this type of cloud is called a stratocumulus. Here is what my book says about this type of cloud. It's dark in color, it's thin, and blue sky may show through. Very low. It may come before or after rain, snow, or hail. Strato means sheet, and cumulus means woolly pack. So it's like a sheet of woolly packs. And Anna, who sent this in, said that we went on a hike yesterday and experienced all kinds of weather: hail, rain, sun, and snow. This photo was taken on our way back when it had cleared up again. Still on the theme of skies, I went out last Saturday morning and it was raining leaves. The leaves were just falling from the trees and making this sound, literally the sound of falling rain. There was no wind and no rain, and it was sunny and crisp and clear, but the leaves were falling down. So I wondered really why this happened. I had never seen this before. I always thought that the leaves kind of were prepared to fall, and then the wind or the rain kind of knocked them off. You can see over here my neighbor's shed is completely covered with leaves, and the ground around here was too. And that tree, the tree that they were falling from, hadn't even turned color yet. Our birch tree was falling, the leaves were falling in our backyard and covering everything, but they had already turned, they were ready to fall. So I had a feeling this had to do with the frost that we had during the night. And this was confirmed for me by Dr. Eckenwalder at the TFN. There's a layer of cells, it might be in the abscission layer or beside that, which has water in them. And when the water froze last night, the night before, those cells would have expanded and burst and detached the leaf from the plant, from the tree. So Amara and Pamela were out walking Saturday morning as well, and they found this beautiful beaver dam. And it's just interesting to note that we have beaver in Toronto, which is really cool. They found a spot where the water was running through the dam, and Amara found some ice, so it was really cold. It was actually cold enough to freeze the water. They also saw this den in the bank, and I thought at first it would have been the beaver using the den. And then I saw these tracks in front of it, which are 4-toed tracks, and you can actually see the nail prints if you look up close, which means that it would be a dog cat. So it could be a wild dog or a domestic dog. I would have guessed maybe coyote checking out the den, maybe having used the den. Also, Amara put her camera inside and took a picture of the inside of the den. And usually a beaver den has a flat table where the babies are tended, and which is used as an eating platform. So that's kind of further confirmation that the beaver was not using this den. Beavers do build lodges, but not always. Sometimes they den up in a burrow in the bank of a pond or river. So Sonia and Marina found these red-backed salamanders under Sonia shared with us that it was under a piece of wood, under a stump in the forest. And I was wondering what these salamanders might be doing at this time of year. They do defend a territory, usually, and they mate in the fall. However, they don't lay their eggs until the following June or July. And I was intrigued to learn that females tend the eggs for 6 to 8 weeks, and then the young for 3 weeks. And salamanders are amphibians, so you would expect that the salamanders would have a stage of their life which is in water, just like frogs. The tadpole stage swims around in water, and they have gills which they breathe through. However, these particular red-backed salamanders have adapted to living in the forest. They breathe through their skin. They don't have lungs, so they have to be kept moist. So they like these kind of humus-type places in stumps. And it's fascinating about the larvae because they are gill-breathing. And if you see salamander eggs when they're close to hatching, the babies are actually, the egg is like a tiny pond that the larvae are swimming around in. So that's quite interesting. Marina said one of these salamanders was getting quite lethargic, which is to be expected. They're exothermic or cold-blooded, and they will hibernate for the winter, like frogs. So Marina also took these pictures of American goldfinches, and this really tricked us. We looked at this spot on the throat, both of us, and thought this was some sort of genetic variation of a goldfinch. And I actually even asked one of the bird experts at the TFN, and he pointed out that this is a fruit on this bush, and some of our members, some of our participants at the club today realized that. So I didn't need to go to an expert. You guys could have told me that. And here are house finches. House finches are around here all summer. They do nest in like hanging planters or under the eaves of houses. They're vegetarian, so he's probably eating these rose hips here. A beautiful color, and I'm really excited about having them come to our feeder this winter. And finally, I challenged the group, what would you call this sparrow if you were the first person to ever see it and you had to name it? And we had some interesting suggestions. We had the bearded sparrow. Someone said maybe the striped-headed sparrow. It's actually called the white-throated sparrow because of its brilliant white throat, which is quite unique. Okay, so this sparrow spends its summers in the boreal forest. It's one of our earliest migrants to come into southern Ontario. On its way south, it will spend the winter in the United States. And finally, Marina took this lovely photo of a tree sparrow. Tree sparrows are also only with us in the winter. We are the Florida for this sparrow because its summer habitat is way up in the boreal forest in the northern part of Hudson Bay. And it will fly down here and spend the winter in southern Ontario. It has a breast spot. It's easy to tell it's a tree sparrow. It has this rusty cap. It has a breast spot, and it has a black upper bill and a lower yellow bill. So very, very cool.